I've got it! What if Lugia and Ho Oh are going to be the box legendaries from Pokemon Sun and Moon? I mean, it makes complete... Damn it! Okay. So, I've been seeing this idea pitched a bit, and only after I came up with the idea and started doing research and started making the video did I find out that other people are talking about it. But it is actually pretty interesting, because most of it regarding Lugia and Ho Oh are talking about maybe a Mega or Primal evolution thing going on, and then that could work. But I haven't seen as many people talk about directly being the box legendaries until I found this meme on my Facebook feed right after I came up with the idea. So here's the thing, this video is going to be about the evidence supporting why this is possible. Now, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, I'm not throwing it down as a hard prediction, but I'm thinking about it as a fun little theory. So let's go and look at April's Korokoro. The box art is blurred out. Now, I think that this is actually a bit suspicious when you think about it, because I don't know why they would try to go so hard to tease us on these boxes. They could have done this in different ways, either with silhouettes or even just having the Pokemon Sun and Moon logos again and saying, huge scoop next month. By the way, Mega Vanillix confirmed, am I right? And other than that, like, there's not really much else. Like, this is a really weird tease to try to get excited about the legendaries for next month, about the box art, and that just seems like they're trying to lead us in a false direction. Now, initially I thought having like a wolf Pokemon for Moon version would be really awesome, and maybe like a Griffin or some kind of like Sky Dragon as the box legendary would be pretty cool, which is why I doodled these little guys right here. But overall, it seems very suspicious that they're doing it this way. Another interesting thing is with X and Y, we had the legendaries by now, that the legendaries were one of the first things revealed in January. So months before where we are respectively to Pokemon Sun and Moon, and we already have legendaries. So why is Game Freak holding out unless they want the box art to reveal to be one of the biggest parts of the series? And that seems like you want to do something a little more special than just slap out the legendaries. Now, it could be legendaries. The box art timing does line up because in May we got the box art, we got a trailer, we got more information, so we could look forward to that for Pokemon Sun and Moon if we are keeping up with trends. But what if it is Lugia and Ho Oh on the box art? I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it from like a lore perspective. Ho Oh speaks for itself, you know. It is that fire bird in the sky that represents the sun. GG. Now, when we talk about Lugia, it gets a bit more technical. Let's just say it rules the sea, and then the moon has influence over the tides in the sea, and Lugia controls underwater currents, which have a big impact on the world as shown in the Pokemon movie. Also, when you think about it, there's a lot of like fan art and stuff just representing the moon with the ocean, and also just Lugia with the moon. So it really works out aesthetically, that from a design standpoint, I mean, just having Sun and Moon version with Lugia and Ho Oh wouldn't really be that bad. Now, some people might try to refute this by saying, well, what about Groudon and Kyogre? They just had a game, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. They just had the remake, so they're not going to have any kind of feature in the next game, but they, in theory, could be just as likely. Now, here's the thing. Kyogre, it isn't really the king of the sea. Lugia trumps that. Lugia controls the sea. Kyogre just creates storms and floods the waters to raise the sea level, which, again, Lugia controls. And when we look at Groudon, it's a volcano Pokemon. It's about eruptions, expanding landmass. It doesn't have anything to do with the sun, and Ho Oh is more directly with that. So if you're trying to use the example of like, well, we can't have it because Groudon and Kyogre are too similar, and Groudon and Kyogre just had a game, so they can't be a part of it, it doesn't really follow through when you have the lore, so Lugia is still looking likely for being the moon Pokemon of the sea, and cool stuff like that. Also, let's just look at legendary Pokemon in general, because they are out of control. Now, none of the other legendaries really fit the Sun and Moon design aesthetic as well as Lugia and Ho Oh, but they just keep getting crazier and crazier, and do we really need more legendaries for the 7th generation? For example, we have an attempt at the most powerful Pokemon ever created. We also have Pokemon that completely control the weather, that we have an atmospheric ruler, a Pokemon that controls landmass, and a Pokemon that changes the seas to its whim. And that's not it. It keeps getting crazier from there. We have Pokemon that control space and time. Two concepts that do not get any more solid in what they control. That's effectively everything right there. And just to make sure we covered everything of everything, there's a Pokemon that rules an alternate dimension. So we have to create a dimension to throw a legendary Pokemon in there to rule, because we are getting that crazy amount of power out of these legendaries. And even then, we start getting into philosophical ideas. Light and dark, yin and yang. We have the Tao Trio. So we have this being controlled by them. Balance. The idea of balance is in the hands of legendary Pokemon, and just when it couldn't get crazy enough, we have life and death. We have a Pokemon that when it dies, it steals all life on the planet to keep itself alive, and then we also have an eternal Pokemon that can't die, that attempts to restore life. That is some insanity, and just when it couldn't get crazy enough, we have a Pokemon that existed before the universe that is representative of a god. Do we need more legendaries, and can we take it to the extreme even harder than that? Like, when you saw the Diamond and Pearl legendaries into Arceus, it's like, how do you get any crazier than this? And it manages to get even more insane. Also, when it comes to Lugia and Ho Oh, we have these warship beasts that control the sea and the sky as well, so there's so many cultural ideas that have already been used for legendaries. And even the trio legendaries are pretty insane. Like Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, they effectively created man, or at least the idea that man can freely think for themselves and apply their own wills to things by granting them this power through their psychic abilities. We also have the forces of nature, so we have land roaming forces of nature and just other powerful Pokemon that are protectors, or just, it's crazy with what legendary Pokemon are capable of. So maybe for the 7th generation, we can dial it back a bit and just pump up some existing legendary Pokemon with like Primals or Megas, and that's why we go back to Pokemon Sun and Moon, maybe having Lugia and Ho Oh as the box art legendaries, or maybe just making them Mega, you know? We throw that into their storyline, and that would honestly be really hype. I would love it. I don't think that we need to introduce a new legendary. We've already gone past not having a sequel version, like we don't have Z version, so Game Freak isn't tied down to any mold. They can change this game, they can do whatever they want with it, and it'll still be pretty awesome. Like, I'm not upset that there isn't a Z version. I'm happy to go into the 7th generation, and I would love to see a Mega Lugia. I would love to see this, and that would be super exciting. It could also change the dynamic of how almost the entire game unfolds. Now, it kind of would be a little similar to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire having like the primal legendary Pokemon be the controllers, but I don't care, man. I would be super excited for that. I know a lot of other people are, so from a business standpoint, it's not a bad idea. You're not going to piss off a lot of people because this is one of the most favored legendary duos that a lot of people love Lugia, and the others, they're like, no man, Ho Oh's going to be better, and stuff like that. Also, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. These are two of the most loved, like, this is my favorite Pokemon game, and many other people I know, it's their favorite Pokemon game of all time because the games are amazing. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be like a revival of Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but that these legendaries, they have a lot of good press behind them, so bringing that to the next level would be amazing. And I was thinking about it, like, if you look at it, what about the Pokemon Center that opened up in Kyoto? That was very Ho Oh based. That has Lugia mascot representation as well, which is really cool to think about it. And we don't have to go back to Johto. We can still have a new region because, as shown in the anime and as shown through various aspects of lore, there's multiples of legendary Pokemon. That in the anime for the Whirl Islands, there's a baby Lugia, and when Ash encounters this baby Lugia, it says, oh yeah, we met one back in the Orange Islands. So there's more than those legendaries. Also, when we look at the Zoroark Master of Illusions, there's shiny forms of Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. So there's multiple legendaries out there, which means we could just go to a different region, and then that means that Lugia and Ho Oh could exist there as well as these primal forms of this Pokemon that can have more unlocked power or something like that. Also, they're legendary Pokemon. They can travel. I mean, Lugia and Ho Oh, they fly around. They could just be like, hey, we're over here now because things are going down, and we could tie that together. And I think that that would be absolutely amazing. But that reminds me, what about the Orange Islands? Like, is it possible that that Lugia could maybe be... Oh, shit. Okay, so the plan was to just end the video right there, but I decided that that was actually a little too mean. Also, faking the ending of a YouTube video to make it feel like it ended, also a bit mean as well. But if you stayed around this much, thank you very much for watching the entire video. Please leave some feedback. You know, if you like this video, thumbs up helps with getting me into the YouTube algorithm and making this video get seen to more people. So only like it if you want more people to see it. You know, tell your friends and kind of stuff like that. Also, leave a comment because I do want your guys' feedback. I feel like this is plausible if we kind of ignore like, oh, well, Lugia and Ho Oh got a game already and Soul Silver and Heart Gold wasn't too long ago. Like, if we just ignore that, I think it's still really plausible. I mean, the whole dynamic that they have, a lot, like I said, a lot of good press. People love these legendaries as a duo more than I believe any others. Like, I think Kyogre and Groudon come a little close, and maybe Mew and Mewtwo if you count that, but it feels like the later legendaries people just don't fall in love with them as much as like Lugia and Ho Oh. So that's pretty big, and again, there's just too many legendaries. I think that that's one of the biggest parts about this, so I'm just rambling on right now. Tell me what you guys think, and also, hopefully tomorrow, I haven't even started work on the video, so it might be late tomorrow or in the next day, I will begin on the orange, or I will try to publish the Orange Islands theory, that what if Pokemon Sun and Moon takes place on Orange Islands? We already know it's going to be tropical, and potentially based off Hawaii, so why not islands all over the place in an existing part of Pokemon? So I think that bringing it all together just means not expanding. Wait, why am I going in on this theory? You have to watch the video tomorrow. So I think that there's a lot of good things here. You know, if one falls through though, like if Lugia and Ho Oh aren't the box legendaries, then it doesn't seem likely for the Orange Islands. I think that's still pretty cool. So if you guys enjoyed this video, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a nice day.